6:30, so we'll go ahead and call the Tuesday, June 30th FARGODOME Authority meeting to order. Sorry.
It was.
We'll start by approving the agenda, which you have in front of you. We'll take a moment to review that.
I'd actually like to add, as I discussed at the building finance meeting last week, that we were evaluating new point of sale systems for food and beverage for contact to allow for more contactless payment. We do have numbers back, so I would ask to add just a budget reallocation, capital budget reallocation request.
If there are no other additions or changes, I'd accept the motion to approve.
I move to approve the minutes, or the agenda rather, and with the addition of a point of order from our esteemed leader.
Thank you, Nancy. Motion, is there a second? Second from Mike. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. On to approval of minutes from the May 26th meeting. Should start on page 1 in your packet. Give a moment to review those, and if there are no...
I make a motion to approve the minutes as presented.
Thank you, Dan.
Second.
Second from Rick. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Minutes are approved. Is there any old business? Hearing none, we'll move on to new business and then turn it over to Rob Sobolik for the general manager's report.
All right, we'll actually start on page 6 for the May financials. 3, 4, and 5 were the February, March, and April recap financials for building and finance committee members that had not, since we hadn't really had a technical meeting of that for the other members, but as authority members, you've seen all that. So on page 6, for the month, we had a net deficit of $121,700 because we had no events, compared to a budget of $152,500 deficit, which had two budgeted events with 16,500 in attendance. However, those are typically in the May time period. It's marathon, or the marathons moved out at spring commencement and high school Fargo High School graduations. So not, they were we deem non-revenue producing events anyways. So we were only about 19,000 below event income based on that, but we were on the good side, on the good point, silver lining if you will, nearly $60,000 below the budget on our expenses. That primarily comes from, on the operations side, electricity and steam usage. The steam was, I believe, second lowest ever that was researched as far as usage. With it being May, it's a pretty low number. And obviously electricity is way down as our building personnel continue to monitor and keep expenses as low as possible with everything going on and the lack of events. Also then the labor was down below budget due to the one full-time position that was approved for 2020 that has not been hired yet, and that hiring has been delayed through at least most of 2020. No full-time overtime, and then obviously part-time non-event labor is reduced to an absolute minimum. Any questions on the month of May? So year to date, the actual event numbers have been the same for 4 months. But overall expenses are just about 200,000 below budget. As everybody continues to do a good job to control as much as possible. So year to date, we have a net deficit of 30,877 compared to a budgeted surplus of 462,000. So as we talked about at the Finance Building Committee, keep in mind that any event that's been postponed was moved out of the budget and put into that month. So for instance, in April, the Share and the Mercy Me dates, since they're technically still postponed to September and November, they're sitting in September and November's budgeted months. With May The marathon was moved out of that and put into the August budgeted month, since that's currently scheduled to happen in May. So this will look a little bit different come our July meetings, when the Ribfest budget and Elton John budget are in there and will stay in there, since both of those are either not happening in 2020 or being postponed, but likely 2021. Questions on financials?
Any questions for Rob on financials? This time I'd like to ask for a motion to approve the May financials. Usually Blake's job, but since he's
In absence of Blake, is there somebody else going to find? I guess I can make that motion. I will make that motion.
a motion from
I
Dave.
approve the financials that are presented.
Second.
You bet.
Roll call.
Nancy?
Yes.
Troy?
Yes.
Rick?
Yep.
Dan?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Thanks, everyone. On the review.
All right, review of current events. You know, we kind of went through each meeting what everybody's continuing to do. They're continuing operations and some of the event services staff, along with help from Amanda and marketing and Ari, and a lot of the administration staff they've gone through most tables, not the ones in this room, so don't point it out. But and now have started on the chairs, hand wiping them all down, trying to get as much tape and residue and gum and everything off of them. And, operations is, I think, finally finished on organizing and then reorganizing and then reorganizing and then reorganizing again all the storage areas. So they've done that. Looking at a lot of different other potential projects, but also have them. Some of the operations staff are helping food and beverage get all of the new video monitors for the menu boards, digital menu boards installed in the concession stands, working on different mock-ups of what we're going to do, use plexiglass in front of the stands, not use plexiglass in front of the stands, different ways of doing that is making it as efficient as possible for when we do operate or open up. Just all sorts of, Susan's doing a daily ticker in her head of, well, there's another $1,000, okay, there's another $20,000, going through all that kind of stuff. So we're keeping amazingly busy. Our days seem to go by, and all of a sudden it's 4 or 5 o'clock, or it's 2 o'clock, and the air conditioning's not working, so we decide to go home. So we're doing that as well as we plan going forward. You know, obviously now we're looking at the marathon. We'll be right now August 27th, 8th, and 9th. All of it will be outside. They're talking about having all the registration, packet pickup on the outside on the west. They'll use the west concourse as some storage, and maybe some restrooms for the volunteers throughout the day. But all of the Friday night runs, Saturday runs will all line up in the east parking lots, start in the east parking lots, finish in the east parking lots. The only thing that will really be inside would be like the medical tent. Medical area would be in the lobby, potentially on that Saturday. And still actively watching and waiting for what will happen on September 5th, but more importantly, September 12th with the NDSU football season. I think you're going to start hearing that mid-July. I know talking to the high schools, they've reaffirmed their use for the Dakota Bowl and for state volleyball tournament, but more information coming out, mid-July is about their deadline, which would be about 2 to 4 weeks before their start. But I think it depends upon, I think everybody's nervous what they're reading in the news, although I did read an article today for the Fargo Forum. The Cass County has, as of yesterday, about 2,200 cases. And the golden number I love to see is that but 2,050 of them have recovered. So with the math, that would mean that about 150 active cases is all what is in Cass County. And Cass County is now less than 50% of the state's active cases, but still a high percentage. So I think that's very positive for the city we're living in and the county, but in the state as well as far as potential activity. So we'll just keep monitoring and going forward. As we mentioned at the building finance also, Susan and Sarah and I have talked, and we've looked through and kind of put some formulas together for percentage of rebates, contract rebates back to advertising and suite holder clients based on what we think we know, which is essentially very few events through August. But I don't want to really finalize that and communicate that until we really have a better handle on what's going to happen with NDSU football and other fall events that are looking at it going forward. The only other fall events, non-concert wise, that have dropped off is NDSU. The Career and Development Center did drop off their fall career fair for this year. The School of Nursing, Allied Sciences did also drop off their scholarship endowment and for this year only, but they're all planning on starting back up in 2021. So hopefully we'll have some activity here starting in about 2 months, 2.5 months. Any questions on anything? All right.
For me, and I know there's others on the board, but hats off to Rob and the staff for being productive in such a unique time without events, and thanks for being proactive and preparing us for hopefully busy upcoming few months. So
We hope so.
thank you,
We
Rob.
hope so.
On the committee reports, Mike, would mind giving building and finance?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, so the committee reports, the operating and capital budgets were presented, and both committees did vote and approve those. Along with that presentation, there was discussion about the dressing rooms, that renovation that was down there. Although the numbers seemed high, it seems in line with everything and all the construction costs. So both committees did recommend approving and proceeding with that project. And then also as part of the packet, there was the escrow and performance reports. And there's still, at least the escrow account still has a nice value to it. So with that, I would make a motion to accept the report as presented.
Mike, roll call.
Nancy,
Yes.
Troy,
Yes.
Rick,
Yes.
Dan,
Yes.
Mike.
Yes.
Thank you, Mike. Do we need a separate motion on option?
Don't need to. You approved it as part of the report, so you're fine there.
All right. On the nominating committee, Dan, Nancy, and I did have conversations about the slate of officers for the upcoming year, and spoke to the following 4 individuals about their roles. Blake has agreed to be president, Mike as vice president, Rick as treasurer, and Dan as secretary. So with that, I'd like to ask for a motion.
I would move that slate of officers be approved for the coming year.
Nancy, second for Mike. Roll call.
Nancy,
Yes.
Troy,
Yes.
Rick,
Yes.
Dan,
Yes.
Mike.
Yes.
Thank you. Under additional items, Rob, reallocation for point of sale.
Yes, so as we briefly discussed at the end of the capital budget presentation at last week's meeting, I had said that we were evaluating options for either updated or new point of sale system for a couple of different reasons. One of the first driving factors was our existing micro system. We were informed very shortly after we signed an agreement to update our software with it that the hardware was reaching its end of life. So I'm sensing Micros and North Country businesses sales pitches. But so we were looking at having to redo all of the hardware equipment on our point of sale system for that, which is a significant amount. And now with the changes that are being talked about or bandied around and everything with the virus and as much contact lists or as little contact as possible, We would have had to do an upgrade to the system anyways, as it didn't really allow for contactless, your Google Pay or iPay, Apple Pay platforms, tap things such as that. And so Casey Erickson worked with Susan Thompson as well and went through and evaluated everything. And it looks like right now it'll be a total replacement with a system called Bypass, which is used extensively by other Spectra buildings. It's got very good reviews. They're very familiar with it. It works good. They're still working out the final things on it. But at this time, I would ask for a reallocation out of the existing capital budget, out of the video board project, which has a little over $270,000 remaining in it, a reallocation of $210,000 to fund the purchase of the point of sale system.
I'd make a motion to approve that if you're looking for one, Rob.
Thank you.
Motion from Dan. Second. Second from Rick.
Second from Rick.
From Rick.
Yes.
So Nancy?
Yes.
Troy?
Yes.
Rick?
Yes.
Dan?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.